Have you ever wondered why some feelings just stick? They hang around for days, maybe even weeks, while other emotions just vanish in a flash? Well, it turns out there's a kind of operating system behind our most powerful feelings, and today we're going to crack the code.
We've all been there, right? You're just stuck on a loop of frustration or worry, and you just can't seem to break the spell. It feels so automatic, so overwhelming. But what if I told you there's a predictable pattern behind it all? A formula, even.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to uncover a core emotional equation. Then, we'll break down its three key parts: interpretation, identification, and repetition. And most importantly, we're going to see how knowing all this gives you the power to break that cycle. Let's get started with the equation itself.
Okay, let's get right to the heart of it. We often think emotions just happen to us, kind of like a sudden storm rolling in. But what if our biggest, most powerful feelings aren't random at all? What if they're actually built using a simple three-part formula?
And there it is. That's the code. A strong, sticky emotion is basically the product of how you interpret an event, plus how you identify with that feeling, plus how often you repeat the whole cycle. When these three things come together, a tiny, fleeting feeling can grow into a major emotional state. So let's break down that first ingredient: interpretation.
So this is absolutely crucial. Events themselves, they're neutral. They don't have any built-in emotional meaning. The emotion doesn't come from what happens to you. It comes from the story you tell yourself about what happens. And that story, that's your interpretation.
Seriously, this idea is a total game changer. It means that between something happening and your emotional reaction, there's a little gap, a space. And inside that space is your power to choose the meaning. The event itself, a comment from a friend, getting stuck in traffic, a rainy day, it's all just raw data until you run it through your own personal filter.
Think about something as simple as rain. For a farmer whose crops are dry, that rain is a blessing. It brings total relief. But for someone who planned a big outdoor picnic, it's a curse. It brings disappointment. The event is exactly the same. It's just water falling from the sky. The interpretation, though, creates completely opposite emotions. That's the power we're talking about.
So it's not reality itself that's upsetting us, it's the story we layer on top of it. That's the power of interpretation. Now, what's the next ingredient in this emotional recipe?
Okay, so an interpretation creates that initial spark of a feeling. But for that spark to turn into a roaring fire, it needs fuel. And that fuel is identification. This is that tricky moment when we grab onto a feeling and start to believe that the feeling is us.
Think about it like this. An emotion needs your attention to survive. If you just watched a feeling of sadness or anger pass by without feeding it, it would just run out of energy and fade away. But when we say things like, "I am angry," or "I am a sad person," we're literally fusing our identity with that temporary feeling. We're giving it a permanent home inside us.
And this right here, this might be the single most powerful idea in this entire explainer. You are not your anger. You are not your anxiety. You are the one who is experiencing the anger or the anxiety. Just seeing that little bit of separation, that's the key to getting your power back.
I absolutely love this metaphor. You are the sun. You're constant, you're stable, you're whole. Emotions? They're just clouds. Yeah, sometimes they're dark and stormy, and they can completely block out the light for a while. It might even feel like the sun is gone, but it's not. The sun is always there, totally unchanged, just waiting for the clouds to pass. And you know what? They always, always do.
Or here's another way to think about it that I really like. Your emotions are like clothes. Today, you might be wearing the outfit of frustration. Tomorrow, maybe it's excitement. You would never say, "I am this sweater," right? You'd say, "I'm wearing this sweater." We need to start treating our emotions the exact same way, as temporary things we experience, not the core of who we are.
So we've got interpretation, which creates the initial spark, and identification, which fuels it. The last piece that turns an emotion into a powerful, deep-rooted state is repetition. This is just the mental habit of replaying the same thoughts and feelings over and over and over again. This is where our mind actually gets conditioned. Every single time you mentally replay that argument you had with your friend, you're not just remembering it, you are re-experiencing the resentment. You're literally strengthening the neural pathways for that emotion, making it easier and faster to feel that way next time. You are, in effect, practicing being resentful.
And this creates this incredibly powerful feedback loop. It might start with a simple thought like, my boss thinks I'm incompetent. That thought creates a feeling of anxiety. Well, that anxiety then makes you notice every tiny mistake you make, which just reinforces the original thought. The cycle repeats and it gets stronger and stronger each time, digging a deeper and deeper groove in your mind.
As Eckhart Tolle puts it, thought and emotion feed each other in this vicious circle. And this is exactly how our most powerful, most stubborn emotional habits get built.
Okay, so we've laid out the formula: interpretation, identification, and repetition. And that might sound, well, a little bleak, right? Like we're all trapped in this emotional machine. But here's the really good news. Understanding the formula doesn't trap you. It actually hands you the map to freedom. It shows you exactly where you can step in.
So instead of trying to fight this entire emotional storm all at once, you can target its individual parts. You now have 3 distinct leverage points, 3 places where you can step in and break the chain before it gets too much momentum and becomes totally overwhelming.
So here's the bottom line. You can break the chain right at the start by challenging your initial interpretation. Just ask yourself, is this story I'm telling myself really 100% true? Is there another way to see this? Or you can break it in the middle through non-identification. See that feeling for what it is, a cloud passing by. And remember, you are the sun. And finally, you can break it by interrupting the repetition. Just get busy, change your focus, refuse to keep replaying that mental movie. Each one of these is a point of power.
And that brings us to the end. That formula for strong emotions, it isn't a life sentence. It's an instruction manual. So the final question is for you. The next time you feel a negative emotion starting to build, which of these 3 links, interpretation, identification, or repetition, will you choose to break first?